Please welcome Mike Kelly and Babs Chase for a breakout session on the Suicide Prevention Initiative, Face the Fight.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We only have 29 minutes and 15 seconds. So I wasted 45 seconds of our time here. Sorry.
We've got this.
All right, this is going to be fun. This is really just going to be a conversation, and we want you to participate. There'll be a chance for you to ask questions of us. No, actually, we're going to ask you questions. We're going to flip it a little bit today. So I want to welcome my friend and colleague, Babs Chase, who is the Executive Director of the Face the Fight Coalition at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. EDF is one of USA's longstanding partners, trusted partners, and a seasoned leader in building coalitions, successful coalitions that deliver impact. So as one of our strategic partners, EDF has helped us to launch and build the Face the Fight Coalition to cultivate support from like-minded organizations. Some of you may be here with us today, and working to inspire real change in preventing and reducing veteran suicide. So we're excited to be here today to talk about the immense progress. I like, that's a good word, immense. It's only been a year and we've accomplished much. So we're gonna share some of that with you today. And exciting to see the national response to this. And we're very proud, USA, to be a founding partner in Face the Fight. And we are working hard together with other coalition members to break the stigma of surrounding suicide in the military community. And that seems like a pretty tall order. That's a big old hairy issue to deal with, right? And you're thinking, well, how do you solve a problem this large? And it's really by raising awareness and fostering real open conversations around support and hope. And it also goes back to the theme for the symposium. It's like, we are stronger together, we do better together, right? I probably didn't get that right. Together we're better. Is that it? I think that's what it was. But anyway, I also wanted to capture, and I know Jason is in the back here, but I'm probably going to have to pay him some money because I stole a lot of what he shared this morning, because I think it's very important about getting involved in this coalition. You know, he talked about getting off the X, right? We want to get companies, we want to get nonprofits, we want to get private partners off the X to help join us as part of this coalition. So some of you may already be a part of the coalition. Is it? Okay, I won't call anybody out right now. I want to make sure I get that right. But let's go ahead and see if any of them are in the audience today. Is that okay? Am I allowed to ask who's in the any coalition members in the audience today?
Please stand up.
All right, stand. I see.
Keep waving
Mark
your hands.
Graham in the back. I can't see that far.
Fantastic.
We got Congressional Medal of Honor Society.
Elizabeth Pletcher.
I see Dave back there.
Penny.
CVS. And what organization are you with? Okay, wonderful.
Thank you, Penny.
And your organization? Oh, TriWest.
Thank you, of course.
And right here? Love it. Our military kids.
Oh, we saw some more hands.
I got the light right in my eye. I can't tell who that is. Oh, of course.
Thank you.
The Travis Manion Foundation. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so for those who may not be familiar with Face the Fight, and those that might need a refresher, I'm going to ask Babs if she can provide a little overview of how Face the Fight came to be and explain what makes this effort unique. So give us a little bit of background on that.
Happy to do so. And Mike, thank you for the opportunity to join you up here on stage today. And thanks to all of you. You had other options of places to be, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and learn a little bit more about Face the Fight and give us a chance to celebrate. For those of you that are in the coalition, thanks for what you're doing. So just for a real top line on Face the Fight, Mike covered a lot of the purpose of Face the Fight really well. This is a movement. This is an initiative that was founded by USAA, but also our founding partners, Reach Resilience, which is an Endeavors Foundation, and the Humana Foundation. But equally important is all of you that were with us here today, gosh, just a little bit over a year ago, and all the coalition members that have joined in with us since. What's crazy and hard to believe, when we launched just a little over a year ago, there were 43 coalition members. And
we did it right here in this room.
Right here in this room, yes. We're now at over 200. So that tells you there's interest, there's a need in coming together to address, as you said, this really big and scary and difficult crisis that's facing our community. Now, I know we're probably doing our best to get the next slide up, so I will just keep winging it through. And just to give you an idea, when you think about Face the Fight, there's really 3 key components that are so crucial. Like I talk about it often like a 3-legged stool. All of those legs are super important to make sure that we're balanced and get to success. So number 1, we've talked about the coalition. We've talked about the importance of people coming together. I know in the last panel you were talking about the value of collective impact and organizations bringing those resources, everything they've learned together to address these important issues. Now, second is philanthropic grant making. Face the Fight is raising money from corporations and foundations to invest in evidence-informed strategies around suicide prevention. What's also been really fantastic about Face the Fight is we've got a team of scientific advisors. We have assigned our partners, UT Health San Antonio, and also a scientific advisory committee that are looking at how we invest the funds that come in through Face the Fight, and think about diversified giving. Because if everybody gave to one issue, we wouldn't be tackling the many, many things that contribute to the crisis that we're going to talk about in more detail later. And then last but not least is public awareness. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that is a huge component. We've got to raise awareness to this crisis, this concern. And we know our military community is not the only community that's struggling with mental health, but we've got to normalize asking for help. We've got to let people know that asking for help and mental health, that is all strength. It takes confidence and courage to get help. So from that side, public awareness, we're continuing to push there, and I could go on, but I think let me add a couple other things that make us unique. We talked about science and data being at the core of what we do. So when we talk about that scientific advisor team, it's so important that we're tracking data, we're getting results. If people are a part of this movement with us, they need to know that we're being successful and making a difference. And I'll also say another thing, kudos to y'all at USAA. This is a private sector-led initiative. So many of you here in this room have been addressing this for decades, alongside our government partners at the VA and DoD, our nonprofits and academia. But honestly, it was time for the private sector to step up. We've talked about all the different things where our private sector, whether we're customers or whether the military-connected community are working these organizations. You got a role, and you've got a place to take care of those that are as your employees and others in the community.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and I was talking to Jim after our last panel, and we were discussing the difference between collective impact and community integration. Right, so collective impact for a single issue is important, but more importantly for this coalition, it's that integration of all these experts. So the research piece is very important, because if you don't know what the indicators are of this, how are you going to solve it? How are you going to address it? So that's why the research aspect of this is so important, and the scientific advisory board is such a critical element of the success of this program. So great start. Love the fact that we've grown from 43 to over 200 in just a little more than a year. I think that's fantastic. So let's talk about some of the other success that we've seen since we launched this campaign last June.
All right, and y'all forgive me. It's my first time to use an iPad during a presentation, but I want to make sure I get some of these numbers correct. I encouraged you to do that. He did encourage me to do that. It makes a lot of sense until I mess something up here. So we already talked about the growth in the coalition itself. Getting to those numbers is absolutely amazing. In addition to that, we talked about data, and we talked about we've got a dynamic data model that actually is calculating lives saved based on the investments with our grants. And right now we're calculating 3,500 lives saved. So that's pretty spectacular. In addition to that, we have hosted 12 different listening sessions. Beauty of a coalition, it's not operating in a vacuum. We have to hear from those that are directly impacted, the boots on the ground, to make sure we're doing things correctly and being attentive to all of that different feedback. We had over 80 diverse and underrepresented veterans, caregivers, survivors, and family members participate in these sessions that'll help us shape the way forward. So when it comes to grant making, so far we've given out $12 million in grants and more to come. We've screened, and forgive me on the numbers here, 15,000 veterans for suicide risk, provided more than 5,000 veterans with suicide-specific interventions, and trained 140 mental health clinicians to deliver suicide-specific treatments. And we provided 10 new expert national trainers in suicide-specific treatment. It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's all done through that integrated community of providers. many of you here today. I want to go back to something you mentioned. You talked about the listening sessions with veterans, and I want to connect it to something that I think Ron from the VA shared in the last session. It's not what's the matter with the individual, is what matters to the individual. And that's why those listening sessions are so important.
Right. You've got to understand that these are individuals. And it's honestly, it's not, we talk about the importance of the veteran, and I want to emphasize as well, it's our caregivers and our family members and our friends and our colleagues that are often going to be the ones having these conversations, that are sitting side by side and so concerned about figuring out how they can make a difference and how they can help when they see someone they care about struggling.
Yeah, I love seeing these successes. Very amazing. Very proud of all the things that have already been accomplished. But as we all know, and you mentioned it, none of this happens in a vacuum. It's really all about the theme of Together We Can Do Better. So how does that theme, Together We Can Do Better, apply to the coalition?
So I'm going to brag on a couple of our coalition members, if you don't mind. So everybody in this room's probably heard about Buddy Check Week, right? With the VA. Fantastic program, and it's easy. It's about peer-to-peer connection, the value of bringing people together. When we started having conversations with Starbucks, they were trying to figure out what would align, what could they do that would have a positive impact on the community, align with their values and their priorities. And when we talked to them about Buddy Check Week, they didn't look back. They said, yes, we want to do something here. And so they've stepped up and are donating 10,000 gift cards to the first 10,000 that sign up for Buddy Check Week. They are also going to open the doors of some of their stores, we don't know which ones yet, we'll certainly let folks know, to invite our coalition members to bring their community in, to come in during Buddy Check Week and host events. They'll offer coffee, but just to make sure we're bringing people together. Now, Starbucks is not somebody that you would normally think of partnering like in something like this, but we made it easy for them because of the beauty of bringing people together in a coalition.
And it really aligns to their business model. So they want to create communities. They want to bring people together to have conversations. So that's the unique thing about the coalition. Not everybody is doing the same thing, and they're not all promoting it or being involved in the same way.
And that is so important to us because every nonprofit in here, every for-profit company we work with, you all have your own culture. You know what works best with your stakeholders, your communities, and your investors. And we want you to make Face the Fight a part of your culture. It's going to be more successful if you understand what resonates with those with whom you work on a daily basis. So we want to give you the tools, we'll give you training, we'll give you resources, we'll help you with data, we'll help you with social media posts and things like that. But that's what's going to make it successful. So it's part of your message. So
you want to highlight the Walmart initiative? I think that's very cool.
I would like to highlight Walmart as well.
And it just speaks to the difference of organizations' missions, right? So Starbucks chose this, Walmart chose.
Walmart is working with us on our public awareness campaign with a special focus on voluntary secure storage of firearms. We all know how important lethal means safety is. That was something that really resonated with Walmart. But we also recognize with our population that authentic voices are also crucial. You can't come in with voices that don't connect with our military. Someone that has zero connection isn't going to quite resonate in the same way as somebody that's worn the uniform or is one of those authentic voices. Walmart has a great partnership with a number of law enforcement organizations. Next week, Face the Fight will have a panel at NOBLE, which is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. They will also have, in their large dedicated space, an encouragement booth that Walmart came to us with this concept where people and participants at the conference can come in and either receive or share their story or provide a message of hope. It's a beautiful concept. We didn't tell them what to do. This was their idea. And to us, that's just the perfect example of success. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put a little bit back on you because USAA has done the same type of work. Y'all have incorporated Face the Fight into your culture, and I know that wasn't easy. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Definitely not easy. Corporate America is, it's got its own culture, its own bureaucracy. And I've been at USA now for 20 years, and I've seen a lot of projects start. In fact, Greg and I started on several projects years ago, and some of them worked out okay, and others kind of died on the vine. So you all know what it's like in that space. So when this first was presented, we started with data, we started with research, right? So we actually went out and researched the problem and said, okay, what are the needs? Where can we fill those gaps? How do we identify what the causes are of this? And I wasn't even the guy in charge of the program. I'm in a supporting function, and I'm like, this is going to be huge. And it truly is, and will continue to be. But what we realized is that at a company like USA, you've got to have that top-down leadership commitment, right? So we would have never gotten off the starting line if our CEO had not committed to this. And not just our CEO, but all of our senior executives, in fact, all of our employees. Because one of the things that we're doing, and Babs will highlight this a little bit later, is training. Training is incredibly important in this space. But our employees, when we launched this, they're like, well, what can we do? We want to be a part of this. And some of our member service reps actually are on the phone with members, and they might have self-identified that they were struggling. And that's how we found out that we needed to do a better job of supporting our employees and helping train them and where to go for the resources. So yes, it's a big initiative, but the entire team at USA is behind it, and we're very excited to push this forward.
Well, and I know as you get your iPad back up and running, I'm noticing we have 13 minutes to go. So Mike and I are going to do our best to talk fast, get through as much as we can, because we think at the end of the day, what we really want to do is hear back from you. So I do want to throw out one thing that has been obviously a challenge for all of us, and I think in the community. When our new PR firm came on, they went through all of our coalition members' social media. And one of the things that they noticed was not as many were actually talking about the crisis around veteran suicide and what you can do. And as we've had some wonderful conversations with our coalition members and others in this room, this isn't necessarily what the mission of these organizations is always about. You care and you want to be a part of it. You may not have the resources to do everything, but there's an opportunity for us to make this easier for you. And we realize as well that these conversations are hard. They take courage. And courage eventually, with the right training and resources, translates into confidence. And we want to help our coalition members and organizations feel better about having these conversations, that they feel prepared. And that's a big part about what we're focusing on for this next year. As we look at public awareness, we look at supporting our coalition members, and in turn supporting our community and making that impact. So, sorry.
And it's really just moving beyond those inner circles where we tell the stories to each other and have that broader public conversation. And that's where I think the most change is going to take place, because we've got more people participating in the program and more people paying attention to the need that's out there.
Yes. And I think a lot of people, and I'll give a story, and hopefully my husband's okay with this, but my husband spent his career in naval aviation. And I'm guessing I'm probably not the only person that understands, let's just say we'll call it the strength.
The Top Gun mentality?
Exactly. And it was really interesting in the beginning when I started this work. He's like, yeah, I'm so proud of you for doing this. That doesn't really affect our community. It is okay to laugh in this room, because we all know that is not true. But what was really, I was very proud of him for this, because as he started talking about it within his space and with his network, he realized how wrong he was. And because I think the training, or let me put this, with the awareness he's gotten around me talking about this on a daily basis and the exposure to it, he found out he's lost about 7 people in the community. And that just it rocked him to realize how much it was happening and how much he didn't know. And now he's one of those that will start those conversations and is really trying to change that tide within those that he's engaging with. But it's important, because it's hard to have those conversations, and you've got to realize everybody has a risk, and you may not realize it, but it's that courage and confidence to talk that makes a difference. So, and
the courage and confidence to do what Jason told us earlier, get off the X, right? Get out of that dark space, get out of that place of risk and danger, and make the change. And I do not have any close personal friends that I've lost in the military. For me, it was more personal and family related. My wife had dealt with depression. So it's very real to me, and those conversations are incredibly important, and we have those open conversations at our family. But I wanted to say that when you share with your loved ones or with a counselor, you're helping yourself. When you share publicly these stories and you take part in the coalition, you are helping others because you're giving them the confidence and the courage to step out and address those issues.
That's exactly right. So in our last 9 minutes, I'm going to jump in on something else. I want to make sure, and I know we were talking earlier about the importance of the resources that we're putting out there, and I know we've got a slide up that I want to showcase some of the training that we're offering through Face the Fight. How many here are familiar with Psych Armor? That's what I thought.
We love Tina.
I know, right? Tina will be very proud. But Psych Armor has built what's called the Face the Fight training portal powered by Psych Armor. This is free training. You can click on here on the QR code. Please share this. Take advantage of what we have built for you. These are curated courses. And as you all know with Psych Armor, this is digestible. People that aren't quite sure how much that they're ready to learn, are they ready to dig in, you know that those are easy courses to take. I encourage you, share with your employees, share with your network. But this is something that is easy to go ahead and do. Through our partnership with UT Health San Antonio and the Strong Start Training Initiative, we also have crisis response plan training as well as lethal means safety. Those are more of a time investment, but wow, they save lives. I'll give a shout out, I don't think they're in the room, but Merging Vets and Players is one of our coalition members. And it was so fantastic when they shared with us that they were requiring some of their regional, not some, all of their regional leads and their chapter leads to actually participate in this training. So they are prepared whenever there's an issue in their communities. That's a best practice. And we'd love to see more doing the same. And you probably are, and you just hadn't told us about it. So
yeah, so what we want you to try to crash the Psych Armor site by going out there and doing all this training, right? Tina will probably say, where did all these people come from?
And she'll blame us.
She'll love us. But at USA, that's where we point our employees. We point them to Psych Armor, where they can have access to those resources. So it's available for your folks as well. Some additional, any other training things that you want to highlight?
So we've also got what's called Systemic Solutions. That's a new monthly series that we have out that is really think more about your HR leaders, organizational leaders that really want to look at what you can do from a larger scale. Those are monthly trainings, also free, also open. We also put those out on social media. And we also have what's called the Face the Fight Exchange. That's for the individuals that want to get involved and want to be a part of a more in-depth conversation. Those are 1 hour long, and they take place each month. All of this you'll see posted on Face the Fight social media. So, which will give a quick turn. If you are not already following us and engaged on social media, please do so, because it's not just about you seeing what we're doing. We want to know what you're doing. We want to hear best practices. We want to amplify your work as well. So please scan, follow, and share.
Yes, participate. So actually, we're going to flip this now. You heard me mention earlier that we're going to ask you questions because, I mean, we want to gather from you what some best practices might be. So we're going to ask you some questions. You thought you were safe. You're not. I may actually call on some of you.
And we will.
How about that Mark Harper right there in front? No, I'm kidding. I won't call on you just yet. But here's the first question. So how do you personally or professionally address the barriers to discussing veteran suicide? Anybody willing to take that on? We've got mics and some runners. We'll bring them to you. Anybody willing to share with us how you personally or professionally address the barriers to discussing veteran suicide?
And we know there's some organizations in here that are doing it really well. Is anyone willing to share?
Mark Harper is going to share. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Harper from We Are the Mighty /Recurrent.
Thank you. I've lost someone. That was the big wake-up call for me. And I shouldn't have taken that. But now when I do like routine checkups on people, and I've noticed that they do it back with me, and so I think that this is also kind of spreading. So I think really it is what's that first thing in your life that's gonna get you to kind of wake up and just reach out to those who you love or those who you think might be, in need of support.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Anybody else want to share? All right, we actually finished early. Okay, next question. Solutions. How do you find the solutions? How do we reach these valid solutions? How did we come up with this training, right? What ideas can we bubble up here? Is there anybody that's willing to share something, a gap maybe that you see in the coalition or things that you think we should address?
We love feedback.
Yeah, and we love problem solving together. Anyone? Any ideas and things that we can do better with Face the Fight? Dr. Davis. Microphone's coming.
Thank you. Let's also look at not just the veteran themselves or service member, but the family, caregiver, survivors who are at high risk, and especially the children and youth in all of those three categories. Speaking to the children and youth is a special way of needing to adapt language and everything. And we're really excited to, the royal we of TAPS, because I have lots of hats, is excited to work with you all, given our post-vention support of children and youth. So thank you all for just being open to look beyond what seemed like the known, to go to the unknown, so that we can all learn things together.
Yeah, and that's so incredibly important, the ripple effect that has on the families and especially the caregivers. So absolutely true. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else with any ideas or thoughts? That's clearly something that is part of our approach as well.
We've got another one.
Hi, I think one of...
Wait, tell us who you are.
Debbie Bradford.
Hi, Debbie.
I'm at Virginia Tech. We are opening a new center for veterans who are transitioning and military families, just doing a little plug before I get started. I know you're already thinking about some of these things, but I think there are some unique touch points we could reach people. Like, for example, there used to be a program in the Air Force when somebody came in for legal assistance, they would do a suicide check, and that ended up being a really effective program. Are there other touch points that maybe aren't traditional, untraditional, where we could reach people? Like when somebody's filing an insurance claim could be a touch point. There may be others. I mean, we know that year following transition, the VA is reaching out to people throughout the year. So I think there are multiple places where we could potentially reach people that we're not thinking about.
I think it's a great point. I mean, clearly, anytime you go to a military medical facility, they're going to ask you that question. But no, that's great, Debbie. Thank you very much for that thought.
Penny.
Is there a way to get data from the VA for veterans who are denied their disability? Because for us, we're seeing that denial point as their beginning of the really hard slide down.
Abby, are you taking notes? All right, good. We'll because I can't take them up here. We'll definitely check with that. But I think that's a great idea. Absolutely.
Any others?
Got one more over here.
Oh, great.
Sean McSherry, I'm a recruiter with Peraton, but also 26-year veteran, retired E9. So I think, and I missed part of your brief, and I apologize for that. I got stuck in a meeting. It's Peraton's fault. But one of the things that we've seen, my wife is an LCSW. She did a lot of PTSD therapy. She worked at the VA. She opened her own practice. And what she has noticed, and she tries to stay in network with TRICARE, is that they have one of the lowest reimbursements. And so TRICARE has one of the lowest reimbursements for mental health across all insurance policies. And that may not be your avenue to approach, but it's something that needs to come up because there are very few providers nowadays that take TRICARE. And then when you think about it, more your senior, really expert, therapist, even though they want to help, my wife stays on that, but she can't do 100% TRICARE because she has people to feed, including me. I eat a lot. You may not be getting your top therapists that are doing it as well, right? Mm-hmm. So something to consider. I don't know if you can assist with that, but I know they only do it every 10 years. I talked to somebody yesterday. She's not in here right now. They can only be done every 10 years to have those reimbursements re-looked at by federal or state law. But it's apparently you have to get together to be able to do that, and it takes a group of people to come by and get that fixed. So
Well, I think this coalition could be a very much a instigator in that. We've got the VA leadership as part of our advisory board. Can't tell you who all is. I know Matt Miller, isn't Dr. Miller?
He was on the original external
original,
advisory
okay.
board, but we've
But
got
yeah,
a number
I
of
think that's
VA
very, very
liaisons.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you.
It's things that are logical and simple that the TRICARE should be paying for. TD with TD Foundation, cranial helmets, mental health counseling, certain medical devices, outpatient treatments, that when I see the case, I almost literally want to write back to the person, are you sure? Because I'm shocked at the amount of things that TRICARE doesn't cover. So I love that, and I second that motion.
And that's the wonderful thing about the coalition. It's not just private industry, it's the federal government, right? So we have
liaisons.
Yes,
Since
liaisons.
The federal government cannot officially join a coalition. We need to be very cautious of that. I'm wondering if we're going to get a hook momentarily, but I would love to.
But we have to go back to Linda. So, Dr. Davis.
In addition to TRICARE, great, and we've got some people who would want to help there, but the CCN, the Community Care Network at VA, their rates for reimbursement, making sure that those are consistent with the rates in the different geographic areas where they're serving, especially when there's that low number of behavioral health providers who we're referring out to, and then they don't get paid. So the CCN.
Yes. This is great. Great information and great feedback. Thank you. Well, we're 2 minutes over. We don't want to get the hook, so I know, Babs, you wanted to highlight the link to the website where you can download the progress report.
Well, that was actually early on.
Oh,
But
okay.
same link, you can get there and you can find it under our news section. But if you are not a member of the coalition and you're interested, please join. If you have questions, I'm going to also highlight Abby, if you will raise her hand. Abby Haig, that works side by side with me. She's spectacular. So if you've got any questions, please reach out to us, and Mike, of course, as well. But we ask you to join the coalition. We all know, I mean, and it says here right above us, but we know veteran suicide is not inevitable. But it's by working together that we can make a difference, and that gives hope. So please join us, please work with us, please share your stories, and together we will continue to save lives. So thank you.
Amen.